You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Matt Laswitz, and welcome to this week's episode of Bat Chat with Matt and Will, a Batman ranking podcast, where each week my co-host Will Nevin and I dig into 3 Batman stories, discuss them, and rank them on the big board, thus creating a giant list of Batman stories from best to worst. Will, how's it going tonight?
Oh, it's going, Matt. It is going. So, as you are a fellow Goodreads user, I don't know why I did this, but I keep abreast of the various little Goodreads challenges and digital trinkets and whatnot. And one of those for this quarter is a marathon read. And it had a list of extra long books that you could pick and win the digital trinket. And so I picked The Stand. I'm going to fail miserably. I'm only like 250 pages in. Got to finish by the end of this month. That ain't going to happen. But I want to express some grievances right now about The Stand. Really just one. I mean, there was another one where he mentioned the University of Kentucky at Louisville, and that's not how that works. It's the University of Louisville. But you're familiar with The Stand, correct?
Oh, yeah.
The character who's a murderer, Lloyd, right?
Yeah, Lloyd Henry.
Yeah. So he writes this long discussion, this passage about how, there's been this new Supreme Court case that basically said that, well, having capital murder folks sit around on the death row for years and years and years is cruel and unusual punishment. So we're going to have a couple of states put in like express lanes for the death penalty. And he just goes on and on in all these pages about how, well, this is the extended or the accelerated procedure for new capital cases, and this is what the Supreme Court said. All of this clearly made up.
Right.
And it is just so this guy could have the possibility of the death penalty hanging over him for like a week until the world falls apart. And I'm like, one, the world is already falling apart in the story you have written. We, as the reader, can clearly see where it's headed. We don't need the possibility of this capital murder case hanging over this scumbag. And two, this is not how the actual Supreme Court, no matter how bloodthirsty it might have been or could conceivably be, this is not how they would do it. They would not remove and accelerate due process steps just for this accelerated death penalty. So it was really goofy, and it just added to the page count. And I'm like, parts of this could indeed be shorter.
Okay. I take your word for it. That's all I got on that. I've learned to not argue with you when you get into your legal mindset on these things, because you know it, I don't.
Hey, look, it's been a long time since I've had capital litigation. I'm no expert.
Sure, but it would not have affected me because I wouldn't have known the difference.
Don't go to law school, Matt. It ruins so many things.
As for the University of Kentucky, University of Louisville thing, King himself admits he's not good at that kind of shit. He actively hangs a lampshade on it in the Dark Tower, where I can't remember what it was, but he put something in, I believe, Brooklyn that was in fact in the Bronx. And so he basically like, yeah, and he says in one of the later books, yeah, and that was a different reality than the one that, it's in Brooklyn in one universe and Bronx in the other. That's how he explained that away. So it's not the same Earth. So on that Earth, it's the University of Kentucky at Louisville.
But of course, The Stand is a very different part of his writing career than later stuff like 11/22/63, where I feel like he really did put a lot of research and effort into it.
Oh yeah, and I mean the early stuff is much fuzzier.
That's the cocaine.
Yeah, probably. Powerful drug. Cocaine's a powerful drug.
Hell of a drug.
Yep. Did you have other shtick, or was that it? Because there
Uh,
is.
that that might be it. I'm rereading Nothing Tastes as Good for our Run Club's book club. It's a cute little book, not something I really want to reread only like a month after having finished it, but hey, I suggested it for book club and I got to lead the discussion, so reckon I ought to reread it.
Well, I don't know how you stumble across comic book news. Is it just what sort of comes up on your social media?
Social media, Google News knows what I'm gonna click on, so it'll serve me up some stuff. What's going on?
Well, DC did a live stream today about Bad Seeds, the upcoming Batman family crossover.
I did know vaguely the outlines of Bad Seeds. Yeah.
Well, they announced, I don't know if they're miniseries or one shots. I stumbled across this and I did not make it. I did not do the live stream. I'm too damn old.
Of course.
I'm just too old for live streams. I just can't do it. But they announced two books on top of, your standard Bat titles. Two one shot. They're either one shots or miniseries, and the articles are not telling me whether they are one or the other. One is Bad Seeds Gotham Central,
Oh,
Christopher Cantwell and Jacob Phillips,
that's very interesting.
and Bad Seeds Gotham General, Greg Rucka and Rosa
Oh,
Ekdahl.
oh,
Yeah, Rucka using that doctor he created for that story in Detective 1100 with the doctor who's helping Batman at the hospital.
oh. Medical procedurals and police procedurals, my dear God.
Hmm. If you've built to this, and bless them, they are spending months building to the Gotham is in peril crossover, and then spending time in that Gotham is in peril crossover to focus on the people of Gotham, not just the capes, is pretty great.
And two, at least from my understanding, this is not so much Gotham as it is the Bat family.
Whatever Ivy is up to seems to be putting Gotham in peril.
Uh,
Vandal Savage is after the bats, but I think Ivy is kind of, it has by that point reached the point of being mayor didn't do what I want it to. So now it's time to go poison Ivy on this city.
we can never quite hold back as much as we need to.
The other announcement that was anything was that it seems like the second arc of Batwoman will bring her back to Gotham to take part in Bad Seeds. So
Okay.
for issue 7, she's part of the crossover. So it looks like we will get all of our answers about whether or not Batwoman is indeed Alice and Kate is just in the sanatorium within the next couple issues. Rucka's not going to drag that out for, years.
I
Which
still can't get a handle on that book. Like, I can't figure out whether this is going to be, well, I guess it's at least 7 issues now, like 10 or 12 or 30. Like, it's been hard to tell.
I think Rucka's been burned so many times on that he's just all right. I'm just gonna go for it. Although, so this year's DC Pride is not the anthology; it's a mini series,
Hmm.
and the miniseries has backups featuring other queer characters. The backup to the first issue was a Batwoman backup set either before or after this current arc on Batwoman. Because Kate is in Greece, but is not in the sanitarium. She's out being Batwoman. And she meets someone. She meets a new love interest. Okay, Kane, you messy, messy bitch.
Matt had to take off his glasses for this.
Yeah. So she said the name of the character. It's like, that name's kind of familiar. And then you see her at the end of the story smashing up some kind of construction site that is being built on land that it shouldn't be It's a character named Featherweight who was introduced in Rucka's Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League. Yeah, her secret identity is Alia Rotko. Recognize that last name?
Rotko. No.
Nisa Rotko, the married name of Nisa Al Ghul.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Kate is now infatuated with Ra's al Ghul's trans femme granddaughter
Nice.
because the mess that is Renee Montoya is not enough of a mess for Kate to be involved in. She's got to get involved with the freaking Al Ghul, one of Raish's numerous progeny. We were talking on CXF interview with the writers of that main Pride book. We brought that up, and it's, as Dan put out, boy, for someone who's always looking for an heir, Ra's al Ghul has a lot of kids and grandkids.
Well, I mean, he's got to have the right kid.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what it boils down to, is that Ra's is a patriarchal sumbitch who is looking for someone very specific, and pretty much that's Batman. Oh, Ra's.
You can never have him.
Nope. But yeah.
Unless apparently you're Jeff Loeb. And we'll never, ever, ever, ever know how that story resolves.
Nope. And we will see in a few weeks an alternate universe where something more along those lines happens, but that's for a couple weeks from now.
Oh, you filthy, filthy tease.
So neither of us made it to the movies last weekend.
Nope.
This weekend, I'm hitting a bunch. This weekend, definitely Toy Story 5, which I've heard is sort of righting the ship after the sort of meh that was Toy Story 4. Something that is about old school toys versus technology actually makes a lot of sense right now.
Yeah. Well, which one was the one where they almost fell into the incinerator?
That was 3.
Yeah, that was probably the time to stop, but kept making these movies and making that money.
Yep. And then there's 2 movies coming out this week that both got really good festival buzz and are coming out for Pride. One that is a coming of age, like, teen queer rom-com-y thing called Girls Like Girls, and one that is a horror movie about a conversion camp called Leviticus.
Ooh,
That
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I'm really looking
in that
forward
it's
to that
very
one.
bad.
Right. It's going to be horrifying, but it is supposed to be really good and stupendously creepy. Like, it's got It Follows vibes. So okay, that I'm sold on that. So I'm gonna be hitting at least 2, if not all 4 of my A-list reservations this week.
What a horror renaissance we're in right now.
Really. And the thing that's great about it is that so many of them are small budget. It's not these big horror blockbusters. Not to say that there haven't been big horror movies that were good, but this summer has really been leaning into the little horror movies. This Leviticus feels very much in line with things like Talk to Me that have come out over the past few years, because I'm pretty sure it's not American. Judging by the accents of the characters, it's Australian. So yeah, very much like Talk to Me. It follows 2 gay teenagers who are become tormented by a violent supernatural entity summoned by their homophobic religious community that takes the form of a person they desire most, each other.
Ooh.
Yeah. I thought it was a conversion camp, but I might have been wrong. Oh, I must have associated with Talk to Me because I think one of the actors, the lead, was also in Talk to Me, which, by the way, if you have not seen, is a freaking phenomenal horror movie from a couple years back. Also Australian and very creepy.
Everything is creepier in Australia.
Well, everything in Australia is trying to kill you. There's
Koalas ain't gonna kill you.
No, they'll just give you chlamydia.
That's true.
No.
Don't make out with him, Matt.
That's the lesson. If we teach you nothing else in this podcast, don't make out with koala bears.
Do not make out with koala bears. They are adorable. They're soft. They're full of love. Doesn't mean you can make out with them.
Yep. But hey, so we have nothing else on our usual agenda. So now it's time to actually start the episode.
Hey, let's talk some comics.
Yeah. This week, we're back with our continuing runs. We read the next chapter of Knightquest: The Crusade and No Man's Land, and we go back in time a bit to catch up on some of the side No Man's Land stories we missed. Our first story of the night is Inside Job. This is JLA numbers 32 to 33. The writers were Mark Waid and Devin Grayson, with pencils by Mark Pajarillo. I apologize for mispronouncing your name if you hear this. Inks by Walden Wong. Colors by Pat Garrahy and Heroic Age and John Callis. Letters by Ken Lopez and edited by Tony Beddard and Dan Raspler. The cover dates are August to September of 1999. While Batman and Huntress fight for Gotham inside the city, readers learn what the JLA is doing to help Gotham during the No Man's Land. In the first of these 2 issues, the JLA has to stop outside threats from conquering the city. And in the second, Batman sends them on a mission to bring the man behind the No Man's Land in. Bruce Wayne.
Question mark?
Question mark indeed.
I was really struck looking at these issues and looking at some of the house ads for the trade volumes. The talent on this volume. Mark Waid is here as a guest writer. Grant Morrison, Waid, Christopher Priest on some of these issues. Oh my God.
Marquee book. The JLA has had I was going to say a strange publication history, but actually it's fairly similar for the equivalent book over at Marvel, The Avengers. The Justice League book is huge. They get big creators, big characters, and then it kind of wanders. They try to do different things with lesser characters, and it kind of gets soft. And then they're like, oh, wait, no, we need to go back to what works. And it's the same thing that happens with the Avengers, too. But before this, there had been, the Bwahaha, the Giffen DeMatteis League. And then for a while after Giffen and DeMatteis left, they tried to do a more, straight down the line Justice League, but with lesser characters. Like, yeah, Wonder Woman was there and Flash was there and Superman was there briefly. But mostly it was Metamorpho and Blue Devil and Fire and Ice still hanging around, and maybe Booster and Beetle, but they weren't doing the Magnificent Seven. And so then here comes Morrison after a miniseries by Waid and Nicieza called Midsummer's Nightmare that we will be covering at some point.
Ooh.
Morrison comes in and it is the Magnificent Seven. It's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter. Those 7 are still there, even when you add in Plastic Man and Orion and Barda and Steel and Huntress and Oracle. And then when Morrison leaves and the League shrinks down and Waid comes on, it's the Magnificent Seven and Plastic Man. And then most of those characters stick around throughout the rest of this run when it's, Joe Kelly and Chuck Austen and various other writers. But yeah, it's a huge, it was the marquee book at this point in DC. And Waid and Devin Grayson coming in to do a fill-in. Mark Miller before he, went to become Mark Miller. Doing fill-ins. Priest doing, I think, Secret Files stories and annuals. It was an impressive book, and it's such a good run. These are, because we're in between big Morrison arcs here, and it feels like DC kind of wanted to address why the Justice League wasn't in Gotham, because it's
an open question. It's a big deal.
It's a logical question to ask. And it's the question that Huntress asks at the beginning of this. And Superman's first answer being, well, we can't because it's illegal, is not the best answer in the world. Especially since we've seen Superman go into the No Man's Land. But that didn't exactly work out, as we recall. But I do like the answer that, okay, Gotham is shut off from the rest of the country. Not everyone cares that it's illegal to go into Gotham. So someone has to kind of be out there to keep various sects of supervillains from deciding, hey, let's conquer Gotham and turn it into our personal laboratory, kingdom, whatever.
And that does make sense. Although it seems like you could do that and help people at the same time. But, you know,
Yeah,
we got to make this story work. So let's make it work.
right. And we throw in Wade referencing one of his earlier stories, the JLA Year One miniseries, which introduced the main villains of this locus using something like a techno-organic virus. And you also do get the end, which is a nice moment of Huntress realizing the reason that the Justice League doesn't need to be in the no man's land is that they already are because she's there, and to a lesser extent, Batman, who is, Sir not appearing in this issue.
And just for my own knowledge, because who knows if we're ever going to pick this thread up again. What's the deal with the Flash here?
Right, because Wade is obviously writing the Flash at this point too. That is an alternate Wally West who had taken the place of our Wally West. Our Wally had gotten lost in the multiverse, and a different Wally had come to take his place. Which is why when he unmasks for Superman, Superman's like, he's good, he's Wally West.
He's a Wally West.
Right. He is Walter, not Wallace.
Ah.
And he's a little older and a little darker. His Linda, Wally's wife, died, and so he got all dark. And our Wally and Linda are lost in the multiverse and will come back at the end of Wade's run and finally get married and live happily ever after-ish.
Why was it a secret?
It's been a long time since I read those. It had something to do with him not wanting the possibility that Wally was there because of villains who knew his identity and would have gone after certain people and or would have stopped the possibility of him retrieving the regular Wally from getting back to his own Earth.
Comic books.
Yeah, comics, everybody.
All right. Glad that was addressed for my own personal edification.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Anytime you start really discussing the legality of No Man's Land, it gets fuzzy because it doesn't make any sense, really.
Well, as we've seen with the current supervillain administration, it's conceivable that the federal government might say there has been a devastating earthquake in California. California is where liberals and brown people live. We're not sending federal aid. Like zero. No National Guard, no federal dollars, no FEMA, no nothing. California is on its own. But it's hard to see how there would be like a no-go DMZ style chaos land.
I would more think that this would be the federal government's excuse to send in the National Guard, nationalize, and take over Gotham for themselves.
Yeah.
But also, it is a plague-ridden hellscape, so maybe it's not worth it. And let's also be fair, a plague-ridden hellscape full of psychotic clowns and crocodile men. Probably not worth it.
We'll get to the clowns later.
Yes. And then that second issue, there's some real fun in the Justice League going undercover as a concept. And here we get Batman sending them after Bruce Wayne. The only ones in the know on this are the readers and Superman and Wonder Woman, because Bruce hasn't told anyone his identity. And Flash. Flash would know his identity as well. Which there's a reason why those three are off to the side as we get deeper into the story. But I like that you get more than one member of the Justice League who is not really an undercover type character having to go undercover. And you get some good comedic bits and some that are a little much.
The Plastic Man as a suit was ugh.
Yeah, that's not great. And he deserved Barda choking him out.
Well, I mean, come on. He wanted that. Had a discussion about Superman this week with a friend of mine. Does Superman have super scent?
Yes, he does. It is one of those lesser known powers, and it is one that in the same way he can control his vision and his hearing, he can control that as well. a power he does not regularly use, because can you imagine what it would be like to be able to smell everything? It would be
Ugh.
so terrible.
Ugh, constantly. Okay, so second question. Is there a superpower he doesn't have?
Telepathy and shapeshifting. The big differences between him and Martian Manhunter are telepathy and shapeshifting, because Jean has most of his powers as well, but Superman does not have either telepathy or shapeshifting. But Superman's weakness is a lot harder to come by than,
Fire.
yeah. What's the line from New Frontier? I had to spend $20,000 to get the rock I needed to take out the Kryptonian. For you, all I need is a nickel for a book of matches.
But I guess if you write Superman smart enough, he can basically have telepathy. Maybe
Yeah,
not in the classical sense, but he can be very perceptive and intuitive and, you know,
he could read your heart rate. He could know if you're lying or not, for
yeah.
sure. He's definitely done that. He does that as Clark. It's a great reporter's ability to be able to tell if somebody's lying to you. And here we have, another example of that, because our villain here is a white Martian from back in New World Order, a story we covered. And the mercy of the Justice League of having Jean telepathically make them think they're human and putting them out into the world. The Martian itself points out a move we will not make ourselves, your mercy.
I would suggest to the Justice League that maybe as a rule, you shouldn't fuck with somebody's head.
Yeah,
Things just don't seem to work out when they do that.
yeah, they didn't know that at this point, but it definitely comes up. 'Cause I think none of the leaguers who were involved in that were on the league at this point. Because Green Arrow, Black Canary, Hal Jordan, Barry Allen, the Atom, Hawkman, and Zatanna. None of them were on the league. So, and I mean, the other option would have been the Phantom Zone. So, would it have been better to send them to, bodiless purgatory than it is to make them just think they're human and live their lives? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it didn't work.
No. I think they wind up sending them to the Phantom Zone when they do eventually all break free later in Wade's run. I know they all do break free later in Wade's run. I can't remember what they do, but I think it's probably the Phantom Zone. Not speaking of, but I just saw it on my notes, and oh boy, things that did not age well.
Oh, yes, our reference to Donald Trump.
Yep. That's like that episode of Discovery where we'll go down in history with the great geniuses like Da Vinci and Einstein and Elon Musk.
Well, he was from the Mirror Universe,
Yes,
so
that is very true. And that is the point that people often make with that. It's like, yeah, well, for him, Elon Musk, maybe in the Mirror Universe, Elon Musk wasn't a shitbag. I don't think there's any universe where Elon Musk isn't a shitbag.
hmm, he got stabbed to death as an 8-year-old.
By the standards of No Man's Land, these are not consequential stories, but they are certainly fun stories. And they answer some questions that are there that could be kind of bugging people who need to know the answer to why the Justice League isn't more involved.
And it's not your classical two-part story. It's more one-offs that kind of are read together.
Yeah, you could read either of these and not read the other, and you'd get a perfectly fine story on their own. It's just kind of, okay, the two Gotham members of the League, Huntress is in the first one, and Batman is in the second. And in one story, you get to see Orion in a suit, in a tux, and just how uncomfortable he is. And the observation of why you would send Orion on an undercover mission, and then you realize why in the end. You need somebody strong enough to pound on a white Martian. Send Orion. Someone who's willing to be lit on fire. The Hound of Apocalypse is not someone to mess with. And we do get some hints of, there is foreshadowing of Tower of Babel here. Bruce's lack of trust, Bruce having not shared his identity, which he won't do until after Tower of Babel. And Clark and Bruce's discussion at the end, and Bruce pointing out when Clark says that you could have just told them your identity, you first. In all fairness, Clark has a little more to protect than Bruce does, because most of Bruce's family, they can take care of themselves. Pretty much, I guess Alfred and Leslie, but aside from that, everybody in Bruce's circle are superheroes themselves. Clark does have, Lois and Jimmy and Perry and his elderly parents. There's a little more at stake there if somebody finds out. Although every Wayne Tech employee is possibly a victim if someone decides to, take his anti-Batman crusade to blowing up all of the Wayne properties.
And Superman can basically keep everybody safe constantly.
It is one of the points. Super speed. I mean, that's why it's Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash. You have to patrol the entire Earth and watch the other white Martians because they can move at that speed. Ryan North is now writing The Flash, and his first arc was so much fun. And it had to do with someone putting out a social media contest where film yourself being saved by the Flash and win $10,000. Best video each day gets 10 grand. And basically Wally has to work 24/7 to keep people from doing stupid things to win this prize.
Yeah, that's where we are as a people right now.
And in the end, it turns out that the guy is trying to pull a gold finger and irradiate a lot of gold to destroy the gold market and something profit.
I knew Mr. Beast was up to no good.
And Wally's reaction is, that's just a James Bond movie. Yeah, but it's one of the good ones, says the villain. If you're not reading it, high recommendation on Ryan North's new run on The Flash. Only one arc in, really fun.
Fucking Mr. Beast. What is that shit?
I'm too old for live streams. I'm way too old for Mr. Beast.
I see that dumb little face everywhere. The man's got like candy bars and shit. I don't understand it. Stop it. All of you. Stop it.
I think on that note,
it's time to put JLA 3233 inside job on the big board.
We are at 732 stories on the big board.
God damn.
Number 1 is Post-Crisis Origin of Batman, Batman Year 1.
Still at a sexy 69 is Batman Annual number 4 from Volume 3 every day.
At 175 is The Suit of Evil Souls, the Batman Ragman team-up. At 350 is Enter the Outsiders, the first Batman and the Outsiders story.
Coming in real high, not nearly as close to the bottom as it once was. It's Batman Shadow of the Bat, number 19 to 20 at 420, the Tally Man from Knightquest The Crusade.
At 525 is The Superstition Murders from Batman Volume 1, number 8, way back in the day. And all the way at the bottom, it's Three Jokers.
Dog, turd of a story. 400-ish?
Somewhere in there, yeah. I'm less looking at other arcs of No Man's Land than I am looking at other Justice League stories. 465 is Perchance, the one off about Bruce and Diana experiencing possibilities of what could happen if they decided to pursue a romantic relationship.
That's the story of just wasted potential there.
This is definitely more doing what it sets out to do.
What about Justice League versus Suicide Squad at 448?
I think we're in the right area around there.
JLA Titans Technis Imperative at 428. Lower?
Yes, little bit lower than that, but I would put it above Two-Face Strikes Twice at 435. That is fun, but it doesn't do as well with what it's trying to do than what this does. How about the new 433 in between Living Hell and Help Me Not to Die?
I was thinking below Living Hell, so yeah, that's perfect.
Our second story of the night is Codename Mekros. This is Batman Volume 1, numbers 501 to 502. The writer is Doug Mensch, with pencils by Mike Manley, inks by Manley and Joe Rubinstein, colors by Adrienne Roy, letters by Ken Bruzenak, and edited by Denny O'Neil and Jordan B. Gorfinkel. Cover dates are November to December of 1993. After Bane's defeat, the power vacuum left has started rumblings of a mob war in Gotham. When Jean-Paul Valley attempts to strong-arm one of Gotham's mobsters into informing on the others, the mob decides it's time to take out Batman and hires an assassin called Mekros to do it. You talk about stories with wasted potential. The most interesting thing you could have done with this story is mentioned on a total of 2 panels and then not addressed again. That this Mekros, this assassin, is a guy who has used self-hypnosis and drugging to turn himself into a deadly assassin. It is the equivalent of the system. The thing that Jean-Paul was inducted is not the right word. What is the word I'm looking for?
Indoctrinated?
Indoctrinated, thank you. Indoctrinated with by the Order of Saint Dumas, but that was done to him against his will. Jean-Paul realizes that this guy has a system of his own, and he's doing it to himself, and then it gets mentioned. He thinks about that over the course of 2 panels, and then it doesn't come up again. Jean-Paul, if he had realized that earlier, or if this story had been 3 parts, and Jean-Paul had time to sort of really wrestle with, what does it say that there's someone who's willing to do this to themselves, while I am struggling to understand what was done to me? There's the heartbeat of a really interesting story there.
And you could go a slightly different direction and kind of investigate this as satire. Mekros and his goddamned empty phrases and sayings as like self-help and just almost a parody of kind of self-help culture. That would be fun to investigate. I like the idea that he's constantly repeating these nonsense, empty mantras, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. And he's just a guy in a suit.
I think part of it is the stuff that definitely I'm talking about, and I think the stuff you're talking about as well. Those are things that Alan Grant over in Shadow of the Bat would do. But this is Doug Mensch, who's much more interested in talking about MK Ultra and the mafia and the CIA's relationship than he is doing deep character study on Jean-Paul.
And you know, I was looking at that, and in 2026, when you can just Google MK Ultra and read both the actual things that happened, which is a lot of nothing, and you can read the conspiracy theories, which say that, oh my God, everything happened and is still happening. But, you know, when this was written, that information was still not quite so readily available. So it's quaint in a way to see that, you know, mentioned and not really explored, but it definitely would have been more interesting and more novel and fresher, certainly then, than it is now. If Matt Fraction tried to write about MK Ultra now, I'd be like, my dude, no, this is not the time nor the place. But I give them points for doing something that would have been different then.
And Minch is a conspiracy nut. He was the fun conspiracy nut of the 90s, not a Pizzagate conspiracy nut. He was the government is hiding extraterrestrials sort of a conspiracy nut. His Jean-Paul, of the 3, because we've now read one arc of each of the 3 main Bat titles. We read the detective arc with the Trigger Twins, which was first. Then we read the Tally Man, and now we've read this. Mensch's Batman might be the most brutal of the 3. He is flat out letting people die. Multiple people, where he ducks to avoid a bullet, knowing it's going to hit Don Mercante. He lets Mekros, I don't know how it's pronounced, march into the mob restaurant and wipe out the bodyguards. And he doesn't lift a claw to stop it. Bruce would have beaten himself up for letting that happen.
Oh, of course. And this is a Batman who goes out of his way to say things like, I don't like clues. I don't like detective work. He is, for all intents and purposes, he has abandoned the mantle. This is my interpretation of Batman. This is not actual Batman.
Definitely. And we will see it is in Batman, it is in Mensch's book where Jean Paul crosses the line later on. And spoiler, not spoiler, while Jean Paul does not actually ever actively kill anyone, his disinterest in saving the guilty winds up causing the deaths of the innocent by the end. And that's the line that breaks things. It's not so much that he just suddenly starts killing people, but his lack of care for human life becomes a major issue 6 issues down the line from where we are now.
And where we are now is he's bored. He's disinterested. You can imagine a Batman going through many different emotions, bleak, anger, depression, withdrawal, whatever. You could not imagine a Batman that is bored or checked out.
He's excited to fight Mekros because Mekros might actually be a challenge. The possibility of a mob war, whatever, these guys are beneath me. But oh, this guy who I actually could fight, bring it. We've said this about Bruce. It's why that one Harlan Ellison story is really bothersome. Because Bruce should be content if there is a night that goes by where there's no crime, where he doesn't have to save someone's life. I think Jean Paul would be perfectly happy if he didn't have to, if he would go through a night without saving someone's life, as long as he found, property crime that he could equally brutally enforce the law on.
I liked how Gordon said Batman's voice was grating.
Yeah, you could completely see that. I think we've all been trained to, like, Kevin Conroy's deep voice is kind of soothing, but this is still would be early enough. I mean, this is 94. Batman the Animated Series has just started. We aren't all picturing Kevin Conroy's deep basso at this point. It could be closer to Christian Bale's fingernails on a chalkboard voice at this point. There are a couple of moments I am shocked that Mensch didn't make some kind of reference or dig into the fact that the CIA is operating on U.S. soil. He's the kind of guy who you'd think would mention that they're not supposed to be doing that. Not that it would stop them, but you'd think Mensch, of all people, would have made some reference to the fact that the CIA shouldn't be operating on U.S. soil. Of course, they're never addressed as the CIA. They are the agency.
The agency, the farm.
This is the first full arc from Mike Manley on pencils, because he just did the back half of 500 after Jim Aparo and Norm Brayfogle had been sort of going back and forth on this book for a while. I think Manley's art works for the Jean Paul era.
Yeah.
It's slightly darker. It's slightly sketchier. I think it reflects Jean Paul more as a character than Bruce. Because it was right around this time that both Batman and Shadow got new artists. Brett Blevins had started on Shadow in the arc that is not really part of Nightfall, but is set during Nightfall, that we haven't covered, that we probably should at some point. When we either do a Scarecrow or an Anarchy episode, because it's both Scarecrow and Anarchy in there.
Oh, boy. That's exciting.
Blevins is on there, and Manley is here. Manley would go on to do character designs for Brave and the Bold. He does a lot of animation work nowadays.
Are there any Anarchy and Hush stories that we could cover, Matt?
No, there are not both Anarchy and Hush stories.
Darn.
Also, Jean Paul here is... It feels like when he's interacting with Don Mercante, he's trying to kind of do a Bruce with the, you've got a wife, so I'm holding something over you. Although
Explain to me the tranquilizers line, because I didn't understand that.
I think Mercante assumed that Jean-Paul was trying to hold his wife over him. I took that as, I don't want to deal with your wife, so slip her something so she's not awake and gonna be a nuisance while I'm around.
That was weird. Like, I just didn't understand what was going on there.
And there's a distinct possibility that that was sort of Mensch's point, that Jean-Paul doesn't know what he's saying or doing. He's just trying to sound like a tough guy, like what he thinks Batman would sound like, only he doesn't know any better. I took it as that, and then Mercante's like, no, he was threatening my wife. I didn't read it that way, but you see.
Yeah, it was almost like a non sequitur.
It would have made more sense if we had met the wife at one point or another,
Yes.
and she was either stereotypical, mob wife, loud and obnoxious,
Yep.
or was sickly and nervous.
Yep.
And so if she saw Batman, she might just keel over. So give her a tranquilizer so she doesn't see me and have a heart attack.
It seems to be the kind of thing that was in an earlier draft and then cut for space.
The wife was cut and they didn't cut that one line. It's his heart wasn't in it.
Exactly what I was thinking. You goddamn butchers.
And aside from this, we do get a couple of nice scenes with Jim and Jean-Paul, but also Jim and Sarah and Jim and Armand Krall. And we see where Jim is at this point, beginning to doubt his relationship with Batman, unsure if this is the same guy. And Krall, who's an opportunistic sumbitch, thinking, hey, I like this guy. And Batman saved him, remember, during Nightfall. He saved him from Joker and Scarecrow. So he's already leaning kind of Batman, and he's not a good dude. And is obviously kind of like, oh, Batman's taking out all these mobsters. Great.
And there's that one panel where he's fiddling with a knife and basically twirling his mustache.
Yeah. In all fairness, Krall is one of the incompetent Gotham mayors, not one of the corrupt ones. But still, he's not corrupt for only certain values of not corrupt. He's not corrupt in that he's not on the take or actively a supervillain, but he is still more than willing to sell anyone down the river for his own political ambitions. So there is that level of corruption there. Or that's not so much corrupt as just a lousy human being.
The law of Gotham mayors, corrupt or incompetent or both.
Or very short in that office because you die quickly. Poor Marion Grange, may she rest in peace. Krall was mayor for like 4 years of real time. And poor Marion Grange, she becomes mayor during the Contagion.
Ugh.
And then is assassinated trying to get Gotham for the No Man's Land to not happen. She was mayor through the plague and the quake.
And then poor Nakano was just a cuck.
Yeah, that guy. Oh, he tried. He tried real hard.
He did.
This is by far not a bad story. It's just the things that would have made it more than just a Azrael pounding on some guy story weren't the things that were investigated here.
Yeah. And we could have spent a little time at least examining, well, in the case of Mekros, like, why does he have to self-hypnotize? Why does he have to drug? What do these advantages give him that a guy who just works out and has a gun would give him? Like, the system gives Valley like insight and tactics, and the system can just take over his body. What does a trained assassin through normal means need with a system? Valley was just a nerd.
Yeah.
What does a CIA spook need with, hypnotism and drugs?
And we could have spent a little more time with the mobsters because they're all central casting mobsters. None of them have any personality whatsoever.
Here's the thing we learned though. Pay your guys, right? Take care of your guys. If you had taken care of Tony, he wouldn't have had to go behind your back and get that 5 large to leave that door open. So, those other guys can come in and waste your crew.
The scene where Mekros does the hit on the one Don who's not working with the rest of them, Verona, that was really cool. I liked him infiltrating and murdering his way through the Don's mansion. That was cool.
And of course, every single fucking time you hire a secret assassin to come in and take care of your enemies, that assassin always comes after you.
Oh, yeah. I think we've seen that how many times on this, and we're not even reading a lot of mob stories. That is a staple of the mob story, unless you're the help. The help is always letter of the law guy.
I really hope we're out of that nominative determinism phase at DC Comics between the help and the gardener and Punchline and Ghostmaker and Clown Hunter.
I still wish we could see Clown Hunter again. I like that character.
Of all of those characters, Clown Hunter was the best. He was funny. And he hit clowns.
He did. Okay.
I think that means it's time to put Batman 501, 502, Codename Mekros on the big board.
So let's start with one that you've talked about multiple times in the past few weeks. The previous arc here, Tallyman at 420.
Ooh, I have talked about that. I don't remember anything about it, though. I remember the Trigger Twins, those weirdo cowboys.
Tallyman is the hitman who was hired. There are actually some similarities here between Mekros and Tallyman. But Tallyman was hired to take out some other mobsters and Batman because the one mobster who hired him believed that these mobsters sold out his brother to Batman when in fact Batman had nothing to do with any of it, and he was being hunted by Tallyman for something Bruce did or didn't do. Meanwhile, Jean-Paul is going into himself in the sensory deprivation tank to try to better understand the system and what it does to him. It's really deep psychological stuff. Very Alan Grant. Not ringing a bell, huh?
No. That might have done a better job of investigating its core concepts.
I think it did. And it's the one that ends up with Jean-Paul like carving a bat into Tallyman's chest. And Bullock and Kit's finding him and go, oh God, what is he doing?
This Batman character is a little fucked up.
I think that that's better. I do think that that is a better story.
Well, what about the last one?
Again, I think Inside Job does a better job of exploring what it's actually trying to do than this does. This just feels like Doug Mensch wanted to do something with an MK Ultra mind control spy and Jean-Paul and get in some points about, Jean-Paul's lack of giving a crap about many of the things that make Batman Batman, but it's not the most satisfying story when it comes to a lot of the other elements.
I would definitely put this above Everyone Loves Ivy at 451.
Okay.
So kind of working with a narrow range here, I think.
So we're keeping it out of Trifle Town, which starts a couple of spots below that. What do we think about this versus Riddler in the Dark at 445?
Riddler in the Dark and Cursed Wheel at 444. This is probably more essential. So I do think this is a good piece of the overall Knightquest story.
Cursed Wheel should be essential, but poor Duke Thomas.
Poor. You know what? I don't think we mentioned this in our column. The last Fraction Batman story, Duke Thomas still with his motherfucking mother in the hospital.
I mean, she's not a Joker anymore. She's just sickly now.
Progress.
Yeah.
Well, we assume she's not a Joker anymore.
Well, she isn't. We know that from when he actually found her in that outsider story that you haven't read that was in Urban Legends. She
Well,
was okay.
the Joker could have come back. That's all I'm saying.
All right, let me give you a spot.
Give me a spot. Hit me.
New 442. In between that story where it turns out Jim Gordon is a video game savant, and above the Titan story where Nightwing and the other original Titans go on an island and bicker for 2 issues.
Love when superheroes bicker, Matt. It's my favorite fucking thing.
Well, you actually didn't mind that because it was the point of the story is that they're acting like old friends who have drifted apart. It made sense with that story. But yeah, I think this is where we're going.
442 it is.
And our final story of the night is Batman Chronicles number 16. This is an anthology, so we'll hit the creative teams as we touch on each story. It was edited by Joseph P. Illidge, Darren Vincenzo, and Jordan B. Gorfinkel, and had a cover date of March of 1999. This anthology issue features 3 stories set in and around No Man's Land. In the first, in the aftermath of the earthquake, see the first meeting between Two-Face and Renee Montoya. In the second, a pair of scavengers find a warehouse stocked with plenty of valuables, but getting out will be no laughing matter.
Oh.
And finally, what happened to Harold, Batman's handyman, after the quake?
Let's start with that third story. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What did you want to start with?
No, that's fine. And so if we're starting there, that's Harold, written by Danny O'Neill, with pencils by Chris Renaud, inks by Sal Buscema, colors by Ian Laughlin, and lettered by Clem Robbins. I mean,
Poor Harold just getting sent away by Alfred.
I think Alfred meant, go to your room for a little bit, I need to breathe. And Harold, with his, granted, horrible life experience, assumed he was being kicked out. That's the last time we see Harold until fucking Hush.
Ugh.
Harold is just gone from the Bat books until Jeff Loeb brings him back just to kill him off 2 pages later, which sucks.
That man. I don't care for his work.
Hey, Long Halloween friggin' rips.
And that's true. And it rips at what? 5?
Yeah, and Dark Victory's great too.
Oh, Long Halloween is 4. And Dark Victory is 16. So
Yeah.
look, yeah, I agree.
He's really good when he's working with Tim Sale. That's the lesson. I mean, this is a short. This is what, like 5-6 pages long? And it's Denny who created Harold coming back to give him a moment since he hadn't popped up in No Man's Land. And this, as I said, this is a cover date of March of 99, which means it came out in January. So right in the first month of No Man's Land, which is why so much of it is set in the aftershocks period, the first and the last story. And even that middle story could have been anywhere as long as you're still at the period where it's Helena in the Batgirl costume and not Cass. But it's not a very pinned down in a moment sort of story, which is sort of why this got skipped. This and the next Chronicles, which we'll cover next episode, don't happen at a particular moment in No Man's Land. The third Chronicles issue does. It's very much in its moment and will be covered because it dropped the same month that they did another one of those, hey, here's a month of one-offs. It was 4 one-offs and a Chronicles. So it takes place very much fixed in that moment. But these anthologies were just, let's have some little stories that we need to tell.
They gave 0 thoughts to how any of this stuff would be collected.
Well, who would have thought that we would be getting these big old phone books of No Man's Land? I don't think anybody was considering that at the time. And the first No Man's Land collections weren't phone books. They were 5 smallish trades that only had the central stories. We didn't get the Nightwing parts or the Robin or the Catwoman or the Chronicles. I don't even think we got all of the Batmans and Detective. Like, it skipped a lot of the one-offs. It was the spine of the event, and that was it.
It's like they don't even want to sell comics or nothing.
99 was still the beginnings of when you would expect everything to be traded.
Mm.
That was not an expectation until Marvel started really doing it with the Ultimate books. That was the first thing that was like, and now we're just doing a program where everything is coming out in trade. I misspeak. Vertigo was the thing that first really did that. When it comes to superheroes, Marvel really kicked that off. But Vertigo was Sandman and Preacher and Transmetropolitan and 100 Bullets and all of those books, which had legs at bookstores, were the first things that was like, these are going to all be released in collection. So we need to keep it, versus it being, we're doing trades of only things that have real weight and significance.
Mm. It's a different world.
It's a very different world. But I think the Harold story is the least of the three when it comes to it's page space for one. But I like the ending. I do like that he sees a Gotham that needs someone to fix it, and he goes to help. I wish that had been picked up somewhere. Wait, I am wrong. I am completely wrong.
Whoa! This
Harold does show up.
Ring
again.
the alarm! This never happens.
I just remembered. Harold becomes a supporting character in Azrael after No Man's Land. And then when Azrael ends, he disappears until Loeb brings him back. So it's like, I'm surprised that Denny didn't do... Wait, no, he did. He brought him into Azrael. Yes. So it just took me a minute to remember it. But Harold does not appear in a main Bat book again until Hush. But he does appear in Azrael in the waning years of that series.
No.
100 issues plus annuals.
It's a different time, Matt.
Yeah, when Azrael's book could last 100 issues. Man, what a world.
And that was a time when Marvel wasn't doing particularly well.
No, I mean, that was the bankruptcy. Marvel will just be coming back around 99. It's a little after 99. It's around 2000 when the Ultimate line starts that Marvel started to gain speed again.
That's probably a piece of it, right?
Oh yeah. I think the story is fine. It's
darling. And who are we to denigrate Denny O'Neil?
Yeah, no, Denny does a nice little story for a 6-pager. Why don't we just move sort of backwards and we'll do the middle story, and then we'll end with the first story, which is obviously the one that has the most pages and is far and away the most significant of the three.
Yes.
So the middle story here is The Comforts, which is written by Scott Beatty with pencils by Damian Scott, inks by Wayne Foucher, colors by Ian Laughlin, and lettered by Clem Robbins. The idea here is a lot of fun.
You know what this makes me think of, Matthew? Star Trek 3. When Kirk beams down to the Genesis planet, the Klingon crew beams over to the Enterprise where the self-destruct has been triggered, and they're just walking around, weedle-deedle-deedle-deedle-dee, and holds up the communicator to the computer doing the countdown, and then Kruge, realizing what's happening, just screams, "Get out! Get out!" Yeah, that's what you want the people to do here, but no, they keep just going right through it.
You're reading this story and you know what's coming. Even if they don't, you know where they are. And they make it clear that these two aren't native Gothamite. This couple, the husband's mother was in Gotham and they came to get her out, only she'd already gotten out and they were trapped. So they probably aren't up on the fact that if you go into a building and it's full of weird clown-related stuff, you don't hang around. You get the fuck out.
No, you leave.
I would not be surprised if they are not the only people who ran into something like this, because I think the Joker has bolt holes all over the city.
Any abandoned warehouse or amusement park in Gotham is fair game for a hideout.
Yeah. It's the same vibe you get in a horror movie, a slasher, where the teenagers are wandering through the house or wandering through the woods, and you're just like, no, don't. What are you doing? Don't do that. Don't do that. This is going to end poorly for you.
Oh, especially don't have sex.
Yeah.
Don't have sex. Get out of the forest.
This isn't a weighty story, but it's certainly fun to just sit there and be like, okay, what stupid thing are they going to do next? And finally, when Batgirl saves them from picking up the phone. And of course, the Joker is booby-trapped the place 7 ways to Sunday. Yeah, if you picked up that phone, it was going to blow up. It has an EC Comics ending.
Oh, 100%.
We got out. Oh, here, take this soda to calm your nerves. Batgirl told you this was the Joker's hideout. Why did you give her a can that you took from that place?
Some people just don't want to live, man.
Yeah, because if you haven't read the story, guess what? A can of soda taken out of Joker's hacienda? Yeah, that's full of Joker toxin.
Yeah, don't drink that.
Final panel of just mad laughing face. It's like, yep. This story is very much an EC Comics story set in Gotham.
You know, I would have gone one panel darker. Really drive this home as an EC Comics story. She drinks the soda, gets the Joker face. He says, "Okay," and also drinks.
Ooh, that would have been dark.
I know.
The story in here that's the most significant is Two Down. This is written by Greg Rucka with pencils by Jason Pearson, inks by Cam Smith, colors by Digital Chameleon, and lettered by Rick Parker. So here we have the foundations of Two-Face's obsession with Montoya. We did not know before this exactly why Two-Face was obsessed with Renee. And I mean, granted, we're early enough in No Man's Land that we also don't know yet that Two-Face is obsessed with Renee. But this gives us the hints of where that's coming from. It also follows up on a prose with spot illustrations, I believe, story that Rucka did in an earlier Chronicles, specifically with the Aftershock banner, where Renee and Benny are talking and she has Two-Face's coin and you don't know why.
Fascinating.
So Rucka set this up there, explains it here, and then we get all the stuff that we know about where this is going to go by the end of No Man's Land, with Harvey being kind of obsessed with her, and then it getting so much worse after No Man's Land.
Talk about long-term storytelling.
Yeah.
Over how many series?
Oh, yeah. 3, 4? When you got Chronicles into Detective, into Gotham Central, and then remember that Nightwing Oracle miniseries we read for Convergence? There's also a question one by Rucka and Cully Hamner set during that Convergence event where Renee faces down Two-Face sort of for the final time and they make their peace.
That'd be a good read.
Yeah, that's definitely something to cover someday. So here, this is, I think this might be the first time we meet Renee's parents.
It has to be. Absolutely has to be. Like, what other story would they be in?
Maybe a tiny cameo during the Dixon Detectives, but their most significant for appearance would be here. I love what Rucka is doing with Renee and Harvey here. I think we brought this up, was it 2 episodes ago? With the odds of flipping the coin and it coming up the same side that many times in a row. Granted, this time it's only 3, so it's not as extreme. But you also wonder, at certain moments, if the coin had come up bad heads, that's open to interpretation, isn't it? What Harvey does on a bad heads, he just can't do the good thing he was intending. It doesn't mean he has to necessarily become a supervillain. It just means maybe he doesn't help.
There is a lot of freedom.
Right. It's not necessarily heads I win, tails you lose. We forget that Harvey can be a good guy sometimes. And that Harvey Dent is a good man. It's just that he's got this broken part of himself. And we see Montoya more willing to give him a shot, which is why he becomes so infatuated with her. That no one else other than Batman and Gordon have considered him to be anything other than a monster since he became Two-Face. And granted, I think this is a period where we have Long Halloween and Dark Victory, but we don't have any of the other weird stuff that's been done with Gilda since. So Gilda never comes back, or we don't know that Gilda comes back, or whatever.
And that's for the best, certainly. If we can be in this era where Vandal Savage is commissioner and where Alfred is dead, I'd like to have some extended era in which Harvey breaks good. We had that Two-Face miniseries a while back that I think had a better premise and promise than what the actual execution was. Harvey Dent as this lawmaker for the underworld. But I would like to see the character be good and not be consistently eternally tormented.
We got even some hints of that during the Rom V run, where Harvey was trying to be good and Harvey was working against the Orgums. Since the multiple personalities were able to sort of handle the demon in a way that most other people couldn't. But yeah, I think a period of Two-Face being, or it being more Harvey Dent, or even Harvey Dent working with Two-Face, that the two of them come to some sort of separate peace and balance each other, would make for an interesting story.
If Riddler can be a private investigator, Harvey Dent can be an attorney again.
And a private investigator that lasted for a couple of years. Like that was not, oh, he's that, and 6 months later he's done. He was Edward Nygma PI for at least 2 years, for 52 and Countdown. And then after that, through Countdown. So yeah, there was a good amount of time of Eddie as that. And then when we get to the end of this story, we get a beat that I think both of us enjoy when it pops up, when Renee stands up to Batman. No, he's doing good. Let him finish what he started. Her giving Harvey that opportunity to do good and make the choice without the coin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brilliant setup for everything that he's going to do with Harvey and Renee over the course of the next few years. It's not my favorite art. I prefer a Rucka story that's a little less cartoony.
Quite cartoony here, yeah.
It doesn't have to all be Michael Lark. Rick Burchett is not a hyper realistic artist, but his stuff seems to work better with Rucka. Jason Pearson is a really cartoony artist. It's kind of fun to see the wild looking Two-Face, but it does not 100% match the tone of this story.
No. But hey, that's what you got sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not, oh God, what are they doing? This is awful. It's just not the right fit.
Mm.
So I think we've reached the end here.
Oh, that means it's time for Batman Chronicles number 16 on the big board.
I'm saying story of the night.
Interesting. Okay. I think there was probably an argument maybe for all of these stories.
They're all very different. I think the significance of the Rucka story, the things that it says and does with Renee and Two-Face, and the cute Harold story, and I love an EC Comics horror short. So I think each of these hits a beat for me that I like. I don't think it's making it out of the 400s.
Well, how about this? We have Batman Chronicles number 11, the Elseworlds Chronicles at 354. You'd say definitively
Mm,
below that? Because, I mean, by definition, that one is not essential.
true. Hmm. You know what? No, I might be wrong. This might beat that because that has one great story, one good story, and one meh story. Batman of Berlin is pretty damn great. The Curse of the Cat People, that Catwoman noir is fun. The second Leatherwing story is very inessential and kind of really meh, with the whole thing being in verse.
Yeah, that was a. Ugh.
All right. So if we are going above that, I don't think it's going much higher though. All right, I'm gonna give you a spot.
Hit me.
Right below Brotherhood of the Fist at
Yeah.
346, between Monkey Rankings and Christmas Riddle.
We do love our monkey rankings.
We do. And that does it for tonight. Next week, it's crime time with 3 more stories featuring characters from the GCPD. Remember, you can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/batchat with Matt and Will, where you can get shoutouts, bonus content, pick a story, and even come on the show. We'd like to thank those Patreon backers: Dan Grote, Josh Wheel, Mrs. Abigail Hartbaum,
Mm.
Asma Fangirl, Tony Thornley,
Go Aggies.
Sam Hopper,
Go to bed, Sam. It is so very late.
John Wickham,
John, you beautiful bubby, you.
Tim Rooney, Georgios Reggioli, David Wheel,
World's greatest gray belt,
Alexander Wheel, Matt McThorne,
McThorny.
Dan Offer,
Danny boy, the pipes are calling.
Nate Randell, Daniel Mosley, Ross Holmes,
Mr. Randomass.
Will Crisp,
Me compadre.
Carlos Cordova, Jordan Jennings, Charlie Etheridge Nunn, Sean Shambly, The Final Wraith,
The scariest wraith.
Kyle Still,
Still the one.
Carolyn Smith,
Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba.
and El the Kaleidoscope Man
Oh, the wonderful, wonderful things I see.
for their support. This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music/Audible, YouTube Music, Podbean, and on comicsxf.com, where new episodes drop every Thursday. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I talk about comics and other random things, and Letterboxd, where I review all the movies I watch, both at MattLaz1013.
I continue to be at the good place and the bad place and on Goodreads at Will Nevin, where I'm still struggling to get through The Stand. I might try to get through another chapter and vainly struggle against my intuition to pick up the next Matt Scudder book, but we'll see if we can hold off for another week. But I'm gonna get something to drink and go to bed. Good night, Huntsville.
And be sure to visit ComicsXF at comicsxf.com or ComicsXF on Blue Sky for our weekly Friday Batchat roundup of new Bat books. For my other show, the ComicsXF Interview Podcast, where my longtime best friend Dan Grote and I interview comics creators, retailers, publishers, journalists, and other related tradespeople, as well as all the other stuff Will and I are writing. And stay safe out there, folks. Gotham is not a place to be after dark.